You got the phone on Do Not Disturb. You're screen recording, but then they end the video just because somebody called you. Like, you don't have to end the video. I didn't answer the call. Whatever. Nonetheless, let's continue. Jump right back in. We're not going to let it quench your spirit. Going back into Matthew 4:4, it says, but he answered and said, it is written that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the word, out of the mouth of the Most High. Right? So we are not to live by bread alone. You know, food, water. It's not necessarily yes, those things are necessary for life and longevity, right? Vitality. But we are not ought to live by that alone, because people who are in the world, they just live based off of bread alone. Their hope and treasure and faith is in food itself. That's why you have, when you go back to the story of Jacob and Esau, when Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, Esau was basically hungry, and Jacob had some food, and he was like, listen, I'll give you some food if you sell me your birthright. And Esau was like, well, what good is that birthright if I starve and die? So basically he's weak, man, feminine. I think he was going to die because he was a little hungry. Probably, I don't know how long it was till he ate, but like, come on, bro. How should I fasted 40 days, 40 nights, man? It doesn't necessarily say if he drank water or not, but we know he didn't eat. You know what I mean? So you ain't, and there's people who has fasted just as long as that, man. So we're not ought to live by bread alone. So, you know, we need to be filled with the Holy Spirit, right? We need to be filled with the Spirit, the Word, because that's what cleanses us. That's ultimately what gives us life. This is the living waters. Because you can have food, you can have an abundance of food, water, clothing, but what good is that if you don't have the Spirit of the Most High, right? Because all those things are going to what? They're going to be burnt up in the lake of fire to come. Nuclear missiles, when Yahweh sends his judgment on this earth, through the nuclear missiles in Yahweh Shai. So it doesn't profit you in the spiritual sense, okay? Matthew 17:21, it says, howbeit this kind goeth out not by prayer, it says, howbeit this kind goeth out, not out, but by prayer and fasting. So this is going into demons, right? Someone was possessed with a demon, and the disciples tried to pray it out. Yahweh Shai said, listen, you got to pray. The only way you get these demons out is by prayer and fasting. So sometimes you'll have demons on you that you can't just get off of prayer alone. Sometimes you have to go extra measures and fast to get a demon off. And sometimes you may have to fast multiple times. Sometimes you have to fast multiple days. And again, even if you do a water fast where you're just consuming water, but you do it over an extended period of time, you're still in the fasted state. You're still relying on the Lord, because the water is not really satiating. The purpose of a fast, right, is to deprive the flesh of pleasure. Water is not pleasurable. I mean, to me, it's not. Most people, I think most people would say that water is not necessarily pleasurable, right? People drink water because they just want to be hydrated and just move on, right? But honestly, if people could go without drinking water and they just drink, juices and sodas and shit, I think they would, right? But it's really the pleasure behind and the satiety behind eating food and calories, right? So when you fast from food and liquid calories, you're fasting from calories, from food, from nutrients. So your body's in a deprived state. So now you're relying on the Lord for that. And there's also physical benefits to fasting. There's many, autophagy, which is your cellular repair system. You allow your body to rest. You allow your body to focus on healing. Again, like any kind of fasting, whether it's water, you deprive yourself of those calories and those food, and really just the temptation and lust of food itself, right? Because most people, I like to think that eating is like pleasurable to them. So when you deprive yourself of that, you allow yourself to realign with what is important and what is meaningful. You know what I mean? And you're not easily swayed by the affairs of this world and the lust of the flesh when you're in that fasted state, right? You're overcoming the flesh. There's a form of fighting against the flesh. So very important, very powerful tool that we have in this life, in this walk, for not only spiritual health and benefits and growth, but also physical, man. You got ailments that you're battling, brothers and sisters. You're dealing with, insulin sensitivity, or you battling with psoriasis, or anxiety. All these different things can be cured with fasting, and obviously changing your diet, eating whole foods, limiting your carbohydrate intake, especially your simple carbs. Try to stick to complex carbs like sweet potatoes, russet potatoes. If you're going to do bread, opt for like a Ezekiel bread or like a sourdough bread, something with very little ingredients. Try to stay away from the pasta as much as possible. Rice in moderation, but your diet should be specifically. I mean, and obviously, everyone is different, right? I'm not going to say there's one special diet. Everyone's body responds to different things differently, but in general, eat moderate to high protein, healthy fats, avocados, nuts, fatty fish, sardines, salmon, herring, mackerel, to get those omega-3 fatty acids, olive oil, which has a lot of polyphenols, which is great for autophagy and metabolic health, and amongst many other things, man. So the point was in fasting, the benefits to fasting. Lord willing, this video is edifying. I'm going to have to do 2 parts to this since, my video did get cut. If I can figure out how to put the videos together, I'll do that. If not, it is what it is. So, till next time, shalom.